What's up, everybody? We're at episode 8, the last episode in Netflix's One Piece, at least for season 1. Season 2 has been confirmed. I guess it was confirmed before they officially announced it because they said that they already had the script written and everything. It was all good to go. They basically just need to actually record the scenes. That should be exciting, and at the end of this episode, we get some hints as to what to expect. Without further ado, though, let's break down this episode. So we open up the episode where we see Cocoa Village is completely burned down. Oddly enough, all the villagers are still alive. And they come out to talk to Luffy and Friends, and basically they're like, you know what? We're gonna rebel against the Arlong pirates. We're all gonna, get together and really just give them our all. It's time to go to war. But it's like, shouldn't these scenes be reversed? Shouldn't you have, logically speaking, if there was ever a time to fight against the Arlong pirates, wouldn't it have been when they went to go burn down your village and not after they burned down your village? You know what I mean? But of course Nami is like, no, you're not gonna fight the Arlong pirates. We're gonna fight the Arlong pirates. You guys are big stoops. Meanwhile, GARP is talking to that ratty marine that we saw before. For some reason, he got word that the Arlong pirates were running amok. He heard about the burning down of the Cocoa Village. I'm not really sure how. I guess maybe one of the Marines ratted out the rat. That's the only explanation I can think of anyways. But of course he instead, to cover his own tracks, blames the attack on Cocoa Village on the Straw Hat Pirates, which Kobe, listening in on the conversation, is like, no, there's no way that's true. It had to have been Arlong. I was not there for this situation, but I know it couldn't have been Luffy, so it must have been Arlong. Meanwhile, we get Luffy and Friends busting into Arlong Park, making quite the entrance. I dig it. Nami and Luffy are going into the map room. Zoro and Sanji are fighting off Arlong's goons. Usopp manages to pull one of the fishermen to have a one-on-one versus fight. So while Luffy and Nami go to the map room, she steals back the map to the Grand Line, and before they leave, Arlong finally shows up wielding his weapon and once again talking about racism and all that stuff. He can't go 2 seconds without talking about it. We don't actually get to see him use the weapon in the fight, though, because one of the first things that happens after Arlong is done, his whole spiel, holds the weapon up to Luffy's neck and is like, how are you gonna use her better than I am? And Luffy does the scene where he breaks the weapon completely and says, Nami's not someone you can use. And then, of course, they start doing their fighting, as they do. Round 2, ding ding. As Sanji and Zoro are fighting off Arlong's other fisherman goons, they bring Buggy back to his body with the understanding that he's gonna help them fight. But of course, Buggy does not do that, as he would not do that. He literally just goes, hey, I'm gonna get out of here, flips them off, and leaves, which I did get a good laugh out of. Meanwhile, getting back to Usopp versus the Fisherman, he fakes his death, which in the anime was his way of just bailing out of the fight completely. In this, he doesn't bail out, he just faces death for a second, just because it really doesn't serve any purpose with the way that they spliced the episode together. He fakes his death and then he gets up and he's like, just kidding. Okay. And then he shoots the exploding star at his alcohol, therefore exploding him, and he actually wins the one-on-one fight. Good for him. Zoro and Sanji go up against a karate master fisherman. Yes, I know he has a name. I don't remember his name. I'm sorry. They're going 2-on-1 against this guy and actually having some trouble with him. Meanwhile, Luffy is not doing super great on his own fight with Arlong. He's not really making that much progress in beating him, so he decides to instead start hitting the pillars that hold up the Arlong Park Tower and destroy everything that Arlong has built over the years, which of course he is not too happy about. The Zoro Sanji versus Fisherman fight ends with Sanji getting upset that he had the nerve to badmouth Nami, and using the power of white knighthood, he kicks the living shit out of that fisherman and ends the fight. Zoro doesn't really get to do too much in the Arlong Park fight, but it kind of makes sense that way. I mean, he is still injured from his fight with Mihawk, so I don't really mind him being in the backdrop too much. We also need to see, of course, Sanji being cool. Nami comes out of the tower, and we get a good scene where after Sanji just kicked the shit out of this fishman in her name, in her honor, he's like holding out his arms expecting to be greeted by Nami, and instead she just runs right past him and hugs Usopp and Zoro. And his fucking face is just perfect. That's a scene that would definitely be in the original. So as the tower is coming down, Luffy finishes Arlong off with a big fat kick, and the tower comes crashing down. Everyone's scared, like, oh shit, is Luffy dead? But of course he comes up from the rubble and screams that Nami is their friend, and they are her crew. And of course, then we get the party! The cycle of One Piece, you always gotta end with a party at the end of each arc. Except, wait a minute. We're only halfway through the episode. What's going on here? What else is gonna happen? Well, it is the finale to the first season, so we gotta do a lot more than just finish up Arlong Park. I do gotta say, they managed to tell the whole Arlong Park in a very well summarized amount of time. So while they're all partying, GARP shows up with his many marines to arrest Luffy. Of course, Kobe and Helmo stand up to GARP saying that they're not gonna arrest him because they don't believe that Luffy burned down Cocoa Village. And so GARP decides to fight Luffy one-on-one himself. And GARP, being the fucking badass that he is, beats the living shit out of Luffy. I like it. You might not like it, but I like it. I'm into it. So then he kind of just holds up Luffy and tells him that he's not ready for the Grand Line. He's too weak. But Luffy says, I don't care. You can beat me up all day. It's not gonna stop me. I'm gonna go to the Grand Line and I'm gonna be king of the pirates. Yeah. And then he starts laughing, which reminds Garp of Goldie Roger, which also causes Garp to himself start laughing. And then he orders his marines to instead go after the Arlong pirates, rather than, of course, the Straw Hats. He then has kind of this heart-to-heart moment with Luffy, where he reveals that he's been testing him this whole time just to make sure that he was sure that this is what he wants. And then they both say their goodbyes. And now it's time that we leave. So Nami has a moment where she says her goodbye at Bellemere's grave. Bellemere. Have I said Bellamy for the whole last episode review? Bellamy's... Ah, no. Am I a big stoop? She changed her tattoo. That's cool. She has a good send-off with her sister as well. They're kind of patched things up at this point. And before Luffy and crew head off, he gets greeted by Kobe, who hands him Luffy's wanted poster. Yes, he finally has his face on a wanted poster. And then they both also say their goodbyes. We get a whole montage of different people, different characters reacting to Luffy's wanted poster, of course. All of the friends that we made along the way. Even get Buggy. He reacts to the wanted poster and he's like, whatever, I'm gonna kill him. And then, of course, Alvida is there, which I guess is hinting at their partnership in future episodes to defeat Luffy. That'll come into play. We even get Mihawk visit Shanks to show him Luffy's wanted poster, which they're all very excited about and have a drink over, despite already being hungover. Kobe and Helmo decide to accept their punishment for going against the Marines, and rather than kick them out of the Marines, Garp explains to them that each Marine, to be a good Marine, they need to have their own code of ethics, their own morals that they stand by. Certainly not something that the government taught him, I'm sure. But he explains that he can see no better punishment than for them to both undergo his training, which of course is going to lead us into a more buff Kobe and Helmo. For those of you who don't know, in the original original series, Kobe goes through a bit of a growth spurt from this point up until we see him again. Helmo also kind of changes up his look. He does not keep that haircut forever, so don't worry. Although I don't really see them doing, they can't really do much visual changes to Kobe besides push his hair back, because, the person playing Kobe is not gonna grow any bigger than that, or really get any buffer than that. Luffy and Friends surprise Nami with these nice tangerine trees that they take with them on the ship, so she'll always have a little piece of home. And they surprise Luffy by showing the Jolly Roger on the sail, and it's nice. Before they all send off to the Grand Line, we get the scene where they all put their foot up on the barrel, stating what their dreams are and that they're going to accomplish them. We even get a little instrumental of We Are, the first One Piece theme song from the anime, which was surprising and delightful. But before we completely close out the episode, we get a little teaser of Smoker, and he's burning out the eyes in Luffy's wanted poster. I cannot wait to see Smoker in the next season. That should be interesting, huh? He's another rough and tough character that I enjoy, and you don't get to see him that much in modern One Piece chapters, so it should be very exciting. One scene that I do hope they keep in One Piece, Netflix's One Piece Season 2, you have to keep the scene where Smoker's pants eat her ice cream. Those of you who have seen that, you know the clip. I want that scene to be translated into the live action. I don't know why, it's genuinely a sweet scene. It makes me laugh every time. Anyway, that's about all there is for the last episode of Season 1 of One Piece. They did a great job closing off the series by making sure it ends on a really good note that makes you happy. It makes you look back at the rest of the series oh man, this was really good. That's something that I think a lot of shows kind of miss the opportunity on, A lot of shows want to end with some mysteriousness or ambivalence, oh, is it a good end to the season? I don't know. But One Piece, Netflix One Piece, made the right decision in trying to end it on a happy note. We get the fluff of the Straw Hat crew being nice to each other. Imagine that. Characters being nice to each other in a modern TV show. That is crazy. But yeah, there's a good bit to look forward to, and I enjoyed this episode a whole lot. I'd probably even go as far as to saying that it was another 10 out of 10 for me. Not only because, Nami's arc, of course I'm gonna have some bias since it's my favorite, and they did a good job at, for the most part, staying true to what it was like in the original series. What I really liked is that this episode had everything that I really wanted in a One Piece episode. It had some big action scenes, and I think I've mentioned it before, but I really like in the action scenes that they mostly stick to some practical effects with the wire work of them flying around the stage. It feels like that's what it's supposed to be like. It feels more anime that way. We got some really genuinely touching moments, and I feel very convinced. I feel convinced that all of the members of the Straw Hat crew are genuinely friends who really care about each other. That's a big thing, especially if you want to make a One Piece adaptation work. And then of course we got GARP being a badass, which you can put that in any episode and that'll improve it tenfold. We ended off with a good note. We have a teaser we have multiple teasers, because you get the Alvida and Buggy, the hint that they're going to be working together, and then you get Smoker at the end. And that kind of gives you this general feel of what's next to come in Season 2. And I am super excited. I don't know if I'll review Season 2 as well, but for a first season, this was an overall pretty solid adaptation, especially compared to other adaptations that Netflix has done. I think I could say that it's easily the best as far as adaptations go. Is it difficult to take a very long series and condense it the way that Netflix has done here? Yes. Yes, and you're gonna get some very weird edits and cuts because of that. Scenes that don't really exactly feel like they flow into each other naturally. Scenes that kind of just don't have nearly as much purpose. But overall, considering how difficult it is, I think they overall did a decent job of still including like important moments from the original series and getting the story across, while also cutting out the more unimportant moments in the series. So that's about all I've got to say about Netflix's One Piece. I don't know if Season 2 will be as good as Season 1. From what I understand, they already had the script written, which makes me think that Oda also participated in making sure that Season 2 was kind of in line with his series. I don't know how long they'll actually have Oda as a consultant for Netflix's One Piece, because I imagine that they want to boot him off at some point and maybe do their own thing with it. But so long as he stays on, I imagine that future episodes will probably be about as good as the episodes that we saw in Season 1. So let me know your own thoughts down below in the comments section as you do. Like the video if you did enjoy. We're gonna get back to some read-throughs and other reviews of comics and manga, so if you're interested in that, please do subscribe and you'll know when those come out. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you next time. Bye!
Program restart.